All right, let's try this again. This is my second time trying to do this video. So I just got home. It's Saturday morning. I was gonna do this video yesterday, but I was a bit busy. It's about 8 o'clock. As you see, just home from work. I have not changed out of my scrubs. And as you can see, the cash, we're sitting on 89,000, up 23,000, almost 2 grand so far in dividends, with a little over 21,000 in market gains. We've got 1,600 so far waiting to deploy. Uh, it was a really choppy week. The market was back and forth, especially on Wednesday and Thursday, leading into Friday. We had a huge down day. Market rallied back. Ended up making 842. We closed up 842 on the day. And on the week, we still ended up closing up. And as you can see, just looking at the market, none of the markets closed positive for the week. The Dow was down almost 115. The Nasdaq closed down almost 2.5, and as well as the SPYs also closing down for the week. So I can't complain on a week where basically everything was down. All the indices, all the markets were down. Of course, we were still able to eke out a little bit of a gain. I'll take it. Overall, as you can see, we're up 23,000, like I said, and I just wanted to touch on some of the stocks that I have been buying. We added about almost 3,000 to the portfolio. You can see the cash deposits right here, and then we got a couple of dividends for the week. Actually, for the week, it wasn't actually too bad. Really, the dividends, almost 200 in dividends just for the week. And that really came through in a clutch to basically add to the cash balance. And looking at our purchases, right, we'll start from the 10th because that's where we started buying. And so from the 10th, you can see overwhelmingly these are the plays that I have been loading up on. Norwegian, Microsoft, Redfin, and CCJ. I talked about this in my last video. I've been basically adding to these places. You can see them right here. Adding also a little bit to VIR. I talked about that in my last video in relation to GlaxoSmithKline. Some more buys here, as you can see on the 11th, loading up again, basically adding a little by little as I see the pullbacks. And then basically loading up on a lot of these different places. As you can see, added another 500, and then here adding another 250, and then again we had another buy here, adding basically 13 different plays. As you can see, this is basically what we were adding to in terms of what I'm loading up on. And so this is basically what I did for the entirety of the week. Took advantage of a little bit of a pullback in stocks like Rio. Rio had a bit of a pullback. Of course, these are minerals. And of course, there was a little bit of a pullback, and this was China related, China kind of cracking down on the commodities play. But I think it was just a little bit of pullback on actually heavy volume. And we're going to wait and see if we get a little bit of a rebound at 86s. And we'll more than likely just hold this, as I do believe commodities will trade higher. We've seen that exact same thing with ExxonMobil. We've seen a little bit of a pullback, primarily supposedly because of the pipeline, obviously the pipeline being down. There was a recent shutdown as well of the Michigan. Michigan required a pipeline that runs between Michigan and Canada, which is basically run by Enbridge, to be shut down. So even though there was a pipeline that was shut down called the Colonial Pipeline, during that episode, another pipeline was shut down in Michigan. And so that is going to cause more shortages. Narrative, of course, is that because of cases and COVID in India, basically they're worried about shutdowns, which of course, if countries aren't opening up, then they're not going to need that much oil. And that's basically what the narrative was about why we had a pullback in oil. I'll still hold on to my oil. Wells Fargo, of course, moving back up to the highs, 47. I'm looking for at least 50 to take some of my profits on, basically, which is where I'm looking to get out a little bit above 50 on about half, and we're basically going to let the rest ride as free stock. Excuse me. So as you can see, some of the stocks I talked about were, for example, GSK again breaking out to the upside on COVID. COVID therapeutic. Basically, they're coming out and they're pairing up with VIR, which is the other company that I was talking about last time, which is a biotech company, and they're basically coming out with a medication that is in trials. and they're basically looking for FDA emergency approval. And basically what they've said is that their medication that they have reduces hospitalizations as well as the chance of death by 85%. And so that's why you're seeing GlaxoSmithKline and VIR moving. And of course, I will be adding to these plays for the next week. Basically, everything that you saw me add in this, basically everything you saw me add here is what I'm going to be continuing to add for the week, so that I have a little bit more growth in my portfolio between Redfin, Norwegian, VIR. CCJ is a commodity. It's also a play on minerals as well, holding 18s, and I do believe we will see more room to the upside. If we can breach 24s, we'll have to wait and see how high this thing is going to go. But these are basically the stocks that I will be looking for the remainder of the month, more than likely. Like I said, with Redfin, I like Redfin. I'm looking to add more to Redfin. Another big mover to the upside, which I spoke about, and I believe it was in my last video or the video before. Peloton, despite the breach, we added more to Peloton. So if you remember from my last video, I was down like 400, and as you can see now, we are currently up. I've got about 4,000. I will be adding more to Peloton. I do want to hit at the very least the 5K mark, and you can see basically everything else that I'm just starting to add to. We're probably going to add around, I say, about 2,500 to each of these plays. So we've got a little bit of time to kind of fill all of these out. I'm hoping that we will see pullbacks in the market, so I'll be able to add especially to some of my tech plays. You can see those right here. I'm adding more to ChargePoint, Neo, Chegg. So a lot of these companies that are either more in line with Joe Biden's infrastructure plan, or they're companies that have had really strong pullbacks. Like for example, Chewy had a huge pullback, as you can see. Chegg also had a modest pullback. But what we saw was huge pullbacks in companies like Redfin, as well as Peloton. And let me see what else. Roblox is another good one. SQ, Square had quite a little bit of a pullback. We're bouncing off of 200s. We'll have to wait and see if it breaches. And of course, stocks like Chewy, which I do like, and of course Neo. So these are basically some of the plays that we will be adding to for the remainder of the week. And I think that's basically it. There was nothing really all that interesting. A lot of choppiness in terms of the food stocks. Like I had said, we've seen Tyson breaking up to the upside. Let me see, Kroger reaching back up to the highs. KHC, another stock breaking out. And Kraft, right? We've been long this one for quite some time. I think FLO is also doing a little bit to the upside. Most of the food stocks, like I had said in multiple videos, are moving to the upside. Like for example, Kellogg's. We're seeing little pullbacks, profit taking, but for the most part, we know because of supply shortages, these companies have already stated that they will be adding, excuse me, that they will be increasing their prices. And so as a result, we know that there's going to be some upside movement, which is why I've taken positions in most of these stocks. Like I said, I got out of US Steel because it's choppy as hell. As you can see, as you know, it makes a new high and then it just sells off the next few days. And so that's why I took 20% and I walked away from the stock, because it's choppy as hell to be in the stock. And I don't have time to sit here and watch it move up 20% and then shoot right back down 15%. I was like, it's not a tech stock. I don't know why it moves so violently, but it is kind of what it is. That's basically been it for the most part of what basically I have been doing. Like I said, we're going to continue to add just about everything in this basket. I don't think we saw anything really crazy move to the upside. MO, as you can see, was a good buy. It was a beautiful buying opportunity down here, taking advantage of the news of the sell-off because of Joe Biden making changes to tobacco. It was all nonsense. It was basically a huge shakeout. Basically, a lot of what you're seeing nowadays, there's a lot of shaking the tree, right? And they're waiting to see what falls so they can scoop up your shares on the cheap, which is why you're seeing a lot of these NASDAQ and tech stocks sell off. Like, for example, Palantir, another one that's selling off to the downside. So, and it's basically similarly with Neo and Tesla, etc. You're seeing a lot of basically shaking of the tree to basically see who's got paper hands and who's looking to let go, who's getting squeezed out of positions, and then basically scooping a lot of these things up. You always got to understand tech is always going to be the future. So if you really have a conviction in a particular company, then the best thing to do is to continue to add to these things. It's just like if you're going to the market or you're going clothing shopping and you like the particular brand, right? When you see stock on sale, when you see clothing on sale from your favorite company, you go in and buy it. And it's the same sort of mentality when your stock, your favorite stock, you know that it's going to move, it's going to trade higher eventually. You just keep on adding to your plays, which is why I heavily favor stocks that are either food stocks, right? Especially now because of supply chain shortages, or stocks, for example, like Chegg, right? A lot of the stocks that have subscribers, like Disney, you might like Disney. I particularly like Peloton. I think Peloton will do well. And so catching Peloton basically more than 50% off is a good deal for me. Looking at stocks like Chewy from the high, getting Chewy at a 45% haircut, that's a good deal for me, which is why I'm moving into some of these stocks. Microsoft didn't pull back too much. I was hoping we were going to retest those 228s, which is where we breached from, but of course it bounced on this channel right here. As you can see, basically bounced on this channel right here. I have no idea where the market is going to go. Realistically speaking, it really doesn't matter all that much. Most of the stocks that I'm currently in are solid companies, and of course they pay solid dividends. They're companies that cash flow, which is what matters to me, because then I can just reinvest those dividends right back into companies that I do like, or I can just basically buy the dips and get a better yield on many of these stocks. That's basically gonna be it for me. I'm gonna get some rest. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Like I said, you can feel free to follow me here at Xavier Trading, Xavier_trading. I'll leave the link in the description, or I'll flash it across the screen. Like I said, I do typically call out a lot of stuff that I'm interested in. Typically call out supports and resistances, or what to look for, stocks to accumulate, and what ranges to accumulate in. So of course, feel free to follow me, and I will check you out next time.